Hey everybody, Sneaky Narcotic, back at it again with another YouTube video, and today we're going to be going over some more Theros Beyond Death in-depth spoilers. Before we get into today's actual video, guys, let me please ask y'all to like, share, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and I would greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, let us get into the spoilers of the day, starting with Saprophage Harpy. That is such a hard word to say. Saprophage Harpy. It is a 2 generic, 1 black creature harpy, common. It has flying, and then it says when Saprophage Harpy enters the battlefield, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. So this card, as a common at least, is a 2/1 flyer for 3. But it also helps us with, I guess, escape. I've been harping on escape over the last couple of videos, but I really don't feel like escape is powerful enough to really care about this, but it does turn off escape in more than one way. You can exile the target card that has escape, or if most of his cards are in the graveyard that has escape, you can try to exile enough cards in his graveyard that he can't pay the escape cost. So this probably won't see play, but I do want y'all to think while going over this video with me today, all the different cards that try to do stuff with your opponent's library, and see if you can see what I'm saying about them really focusing on escape today. And of course that's exactly what I'm saying here, escape, and it also turns off like graveyard shenanigans, and the first one that I thought of that was in standard is Gutter Bones, but if you're playing like Pioneer, think about resembling Skeleton, any type of like Aristocrats deck will have cards like this. The next card of the day, Pheonix of Ash, 1 generic, 2 red mana, creature Phoenix. It is rare, it has flying and haste, and it says pay 2 generic and 1 red. Pheonix of Ash gets +2/+0 until end of turn. He also has an escape of paying 2 generic and 2 red, exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard, and when it escapes, it comes back with a +1/+1 counter on it. So it is a 3/3 flying haster for 4 mana and 3 other cards from your graveyard, and otherwise it is a 2/2 for 3 with flying and haste. I really, all these cards that have rare and uncommon on their escapes, I just don't think that they're worth their rares and uncommons when it's an escape card, because they're so focused and think that we're just going to be able to escape with all these creatures, and we're not. You know, you're giving us all these escape cards. This is the least playable, you know. Exiling 3 other cards is a lot playable than what was it over here with Parachronos from yesterday, or Polochronos. 6 escapes, exile 6 other cards from your graveyard. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I gotta put that out there. Yeah. Our next card of the day is a pretty cool card, Callafe, Beloved of the Sea. It is a legendary enchantment creature, demigod. It says, Callafe, Beloved of the Sea's power is equal to your devotion to blue. Creatures and enchantments you control have spells your opponents cast that target this permanent cost 1 more to cast. So I love that it gives a little tax ability. It turns your shocks into lightning bolts, your lightning bolts into whatever 3 mana deal 3 damages. But I like that it kind of, because that deters your opponent from wanting to kill any other creature other than this creature, but also it semi protects itself. You know, a Mortify is 4 mana instead of 3, and that could be the 1 mana that is the difference between you winning the game or you losing the game. I didn't put this up here, but Spark Double on this would be insane, because then, you know, spells your opponents cast that target this permanent, or creatures enchantments you control have spells your opponents cast that target this permanent cost 2 more to cast at that point in time, and then if you can do another spark double. It's 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 5 would be insane. Them paying 8 mana for a Mortify or a Murder, or, you know, that's just crazy. As far as the rest of this, a 4-3, or excuse me, a 2-3 when it comes down is okay in blue, but really that other thing, the creatures and enchantments you control, that's pretty good. Pretty good for an uncommon. Omen of the Sea, 1 generic, 1 blue, enchantment, common. Flash, when Omen of the Sea enters the battlefield, scry 2, then draw a card. Pay 2 generic and 1 blue mana, sacrifice Omen of the Sea, scry 2. My time will come when the rising tide will surge above the tallest mountain. This is a really cool card. It reminds me a lot of a card we used to have, which is Glimmer of Genius, and that card was insane because it was a scry 2, draw 2, and of course back then you had energy counters and it messed with that a little bit. But scrying 2 and then drawing a card, I think Glimmer of Genius was 4 mana, so the difference in mana is kind of better for Omen of the Sea. Scry 2, draw a card, and then also for 3 more mana was Scry 2 again. So I really like this card. I think it's definitely going to see play. Out of the Omens, it's probably my favorite Omen. I'm sorry, I guess I didn't put the cards up. Here's some thoughts about this. With the way they're doing enchantments right now, the possibilities of replaying Omen of the Sea is going to be very, very high. I'm actually going to go over some more later on in the video, now that I remember, and exactly how you could potentially mess this Omen up, you know? Dawn Evangel, 2 generic, 1 white, enchantment creature, human cleric, uncommon. Whenever a creature dies, if an aura you control was attached to it, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Is there a greater promise than the glory of the sunrise? And it is a 2/3. The reason why this card is kind of to me is that it return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less, and then from your graveyard to your hand. I get that it's a 3 mana 2/3 in white, but that just seems so weak to me. And then, you know, you also have the stipulation of whenever a creature dies, if an aura you controlled was attached to it. I mean, I don't know. I guess the only real thing I can think about is like putting Kaya's Ghost Form and then possibly bringing back your Johnny Pridemate over and over again. I don't know. I really don't know where this card's going to end up. Omen of the Forge, 1 generic, 1 red, enchantment, common, has flash. When Omen of the Forge enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Pay 2 generic and 1 red, sacrifice Omen of the Forge, scry 2. My time will come when all the world will be reforged in the fires of my invention. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's some pretty cool flavor text. As far as the card itself, it's 1 damage per CMC, so that's you know, normally like shock is 2, lightning strike is 3. So I don't know. I think that's not as cool. The potential of it being an enchantment and replayable multiple times, while off of 1 card, I should say, it's pretty good. Scrying in red is actually kind of good because red doesn't have a lot of draw power, so being able to make sure you're not drawing duds or aka lands, it's pretty good, especially when your play is kind of dead, that you played out your hand. So I think this card will definitely see some play, mostly because it's a burn card, mostly because mono red is still a thing. Omen of the Sun, 2 generic, 1 white, enchantment, common. It has flash. When Omen of the Sun enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens and you gain 2 life. Pay 2 generic and 1 white, sacrifice Omen of the Sun, scry 2. My time will come when every soul will bask in my glory and obey my law. So, I'm very glad, I'm very glad Omen of the Sun is not Omen of the Forge, because if Red got create 2/1/1 white human, or 2/1/1 goblin tokens, let's say, I would have absolutely shot myself. I'm really hoping that Cavalcade of Calamity deck does not become Boros, but now that they've printed this Omen, I fear that it might, and that's really what I'm thinking about this Omen of the Sun right now. The gain 2 life is kind of good, you know. That's a lot for 3 mana, to be honest. 2 bodies and 2 life. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Pious Wayfarer. 1 white mana creature human scout. It is a common. It has Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Every footstep is a prayer, every road a temple, and it is a 1/2 for 1 white mana. Probably won't see any play, to be honest with you. Until end of turn just isn't powerful enough. If it was +1/+1 counters, that'd be cool, but there's already a card that, you know, was printed, or I should say was revealed, and it's a card I wanted but didn't deserve. And if you know which card I'm talking about, it's the Testing Champion. You'll actually see it later on in this video. So, Tymaret, Chosen from Death. 2 black mana, legendary enchantment creature demigod. It is an uncommon. Tymaret's toughness is equal to your devotion to black. Pay 1 generic, 1 black, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. You gain 1 life for each creature card exiled this way, and it is a 2 and a star. So, firstly, I appreciate that it's a 2-drop with 2 black devotion, where because devotion is just going to be really good. So, it's a 2/2 when it comes out by itself. Hopefully, you know, you play a 1-drop that has a black in it. And then it can be a 2/3 on turn 2, and then possibly a 2/5 on turn 3, maybe. I don't really know what to say about this particular demigod, because gaining life in black is neat, but it's not what black does, and the whole Tymaret's toughness is equal to your devotion to black is just kind of useless if he's just going to sit there mostly. I think this card is mainly going to be there for his devotion. So if it's played, it's going to be in some type of devotion deck that needs black. So, the Triumph of Anax. 2 generic, 1 red. It's a saga. As a saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. Sacrifice after 4 lures. So, until end of turn, target creature gains trample and gets +X/+0, where X is the number of lore counters on the Triumph of Anax. And it is 1, 2, and 3. Those are the first 3 lures, and then the 4th lure. Target creature you control fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Each deals damage equal to its power to the other. Okay. So it's an uncommon for 3 mana, and then it goes all the way till turn 7 if you play this on curve. Turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, I'm sorry. It comes out on turn 3. So, I really don't know how I feel about this card. I like the whole trample part. If you're giving this to a first striker, this would be pretty good. I think I mentioned that here in a second. Firstly, I like it with Polo Chronos because of it being able to prevent the damage, but because it already is a huge creature and it can just get bigger. The other creature I like this with is Nessian Boar, because Nessian Boar just needs trample in general. I thought, especially for the kind of downside to letting your opponent draw cards. But the other thing I guess I didn't put on here, but I want to mention is I really think that it'd belong in like a first strike tribal deck or a double strike tribal deck, because of that +X. When you see a lot of cards in the front, as power getting bigger but not toughness, I would really think about First Strike on all of those cards, because First Strike and Double Strike is just a really good static ability. Excuse me. Thassa, Deep Dwelling, 3 generic 1 blue mana, legendary enchantment creature, god. It is a mythic rare rarity, and it has indestructible. As long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, Thassa isn't a creature. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 other target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Pay 3 generic and 1 blue to have another target creature. And it is a 6/5. Oh my god, it's a 6/5 in blue, thank god. So, first thoughts. Wavebreaker Hippocamp. Being able to just bring back enchantment creatures is why I have this up here. That's pretty good. If you can find an enchantment creature that has a really good enter the battlefield effect, that's really good. But also if you just have an enchantment creature that can trigger Constellation over and over again, that's pretty good. And here's that Setessan Champion I was talking about earlier. But the other thought I had is like using this ability on Fibbolithifib or other creatures that draw you cards or do something really, really good when it enters the battlefield. Because they're just going to come back and instantly do that once a turn, or once at the beginning of your end step. So once every one of your turns. Another thing is like maybe a token generator. So I have Mesmerizing Benthid, which whenever it enters the battlefield, it creates 2/2 black illusion creatures. Whenever this creature, it also has the creature's tokens also have whenever this creature blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So I really think that there's going to be some cool combo, and it's actually kind of on curve. Bring out Thassa, then bring out Mesmerizing Benthid, and just make an army of 0/2 blue illusion creatures, because then you're going to be able to start like kind of pacifying between that and being able to tap them with Thassa's ability. So maybe even throw in Verity Circle, and you can start drawing off of that. That'd be pretty cool. Anyways, here's a card I don't know how I feel about. It's Haktos the Unscarred. It is 2 red, 2 white. Basically Achilles. It is a legendary creature, human warrior, and it is a rare. Haktos the Unscarred attacks each combat if able. As Haktos enters the battlefield, choose 2, 3, or 4 at random. I do not know how you're going to do that. 2, 3, or 4 at random. I guess roll a 6-sided dice, and 1 through 2 is 2, 3 through 4 is 3, and 5 through 6 is 4. I guess that's how you do it at random. But Haktos has protection from each converted mana cost other than the chosen number. Many have sought my weakness, all have failed. It is a 6/1. It's a 6/1, dude. That's ridiculous. So, general thoughts on this card. It's a 6/1. It needs some type of first strike, and that's why I put this card on here. Also, because Justicar's Portal exiles it and then brings that card back, it will re-trigger his Enter the Battlefield effect, making him able to have protection against 2, 3, or 4 again. So another potential to do that at instant speed. And of course, because it is so big, I thought about like giving it Colossus and just giving it Trample, and then it'd be like a 10-3 Trampler. That would be pretty good, I think. And maybe this is like the top end of my Naya Season of Growth deck. You know, maybe this is where that card belongs. But I really don't know. I don't know how I feel, because a 6/1 just sounds like crap, to be honest with you. And it has to attack each combat if able, so. Shimmerwing Chimera. Actually, I'm sorry. One last thing about this. It gives you protection for each converted mana cost other than the chosen number. I would like to mention the Dawn of Hope tokens, the most famous, or even just here, going back to Oath of the Sun. These two 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. If you just have the Haktos out at the same time, having to attack into a 1/1 token is going to look really bad when A, you don't have trample, and B, there's no way to give it protection against that because tokens don't have a CMC. So I really hate that that's how that looks. And I keep looking at this card over and over again. Each converted mana costs other. I know this sounds dumb, but now double reading it, from each converted mana cost other than the chosen number. Okay, so obviously that's either going to be, if it's 2, it's going to be 3 and 4, not just 1, 3, 4, infinite. But I really wish that's how it read, because it's just a lot of mana for a 6/1 that can be killed by a 1/1 lifelink or token. Anyways, I'm sorry, I don't want to stay caught up on that card. Shimmerwing Chimera. 3 generic, 1 blue enchantment creature Chimera. It is an uncommon. It has flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 1 other target enchantment you control to its owner's hand. It swims upon the winds and soars through the waves, and it is a 3/2 for 4 mana. First thought on this card was being able to completely continue to replay omens over and over again. Just omen, 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 omen. And that would be pretty good with Omen of the Sea, because not only would you be drawing a card every single turn, an extra card every single turn for only 2 mana, you would also be scrying 2 really good. And since Omen of the Sea has flash, at the beginning of your upkeep, which is right before your draw step, you can go ahead and scry what you want to, I guess, well, kind of, yeah, since it's scry 2, you can scry the next 2 cards, and then if those 2 cards look good, draw both of them. So, I really think this is going to be good. I think Shimmerwing Chimera is going to need a little bit more. I wish that, and again, if you go into the Omen of Sea idea here, because omens have flash, you can, at the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 1 target enchantment you control. You can target your enchantment, and then play it again, and then target it again if you have another Shimmerwing, I believe. I might be wrong. It may be that Shimmerwing has to target at the beginning of the upkeep before it resolves. The other Shimmerwing has to do the same. But I'm not a judge. I'm a player, so let's wait until it comes to the actual field and see what the LGS have to say about that. Another thing I was thinking about is just like totally continuing to replay enchantments that just win you the game. So like Captive Audience, for instance. Taking aback that Shimmerwing Chimera's ability is not a May ability that you have to, but Captive Audience enters the battlefield the controller of an opponent of your choice. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one. Yeah, so you can since it's the beginning of your upkeep, you can trigger Captive's Audience before Shimmering Chimera, and then return it, and then put it back out, and then trigger it again. So you can just keep on cycling Captive Audience, which I like. Starfield Mystic is another idea, because whenever an enchantment you control is... Oh. Again, I keep on getting this card mixed up in my head. I keep thinking it's when it leaves the battlefield, you get a +1/+1. But hey, it's still part of the enchantment tribal, and that's what Starfield Mystic is all about. So... just to keep that in mind, Starfield Mystic will discount your... Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't even think about this. The omens become one blue mana in this particular one, Omen of the Sea, for just having 1 Starfield Mystic out. So keep that in mind as well, that these end. Shimmerwing Chimera becomes 1 generic cheaper too. So keep that in mind. Starfield Mystic is going to go up in price a lot. And again, of course, Test and Champion, just reminding y'all that Constellation exists, and Shimmerwing Chimera makes it possible to do every single freaking turn. So, the first Ironian Games. It's an enchantment saga. The first Saga says create a 1/1 human soldier token. The next one says put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. It's for 2 generic and 1 green, by the way, and it's also a rare. And the third lore says if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw 2 cards. And then the fourth one says create a gold artifact token. So this is a prime example of a well put together card. A card that has multiple parts that all feed off of each other. Creating a token that can then the next turn be turned into a 4/4, and then the next turn draw you cards since its power is 4 or greater. And of course the last one doesn't really make sense, but it's still there, so hey. I really like this card. Turn 4 you get a 4/4, and then turn 5 you draw 2 cards. So I really like this card. Actually, I'm sorry, I put it back one. Turn 3 create a token. Turn 4, yeah, okay, no, that's right. What I said earlier. The thoughts about this is since it's making a gold artifact token, the Blood Aspirant. Also, if you just want to go ahead and put all 3 +1/+1s on Blood Aspirant and just, get Blood Aspirant pretty high up there for a 2 mana costing creature. The other thing is like Shimmerwing, being able to just continuously make your human soldier tokens, and then if you have another enchantment that you can put in place, every other turn Shimmerwing gets that enchantment, and then the next turn Ironian games, then you can continuously keep on making 4/4s, and that would be pretty sweet too. Our last card of the day, I believe, actually, I don't believe it is. But anyways, Archon of Falling Stars. 4 generic, 2 white mana creature Archon. It is an uncommon. It has flying. When Archon of Falling Stars dies, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. The Archon fell like a star from the sky, meeting the rising sun at the horizon's edge, and it is a 4/4 for 6 mana. So, I'm going to get skewered if I don't mention this. There is a card in Standard right now, and I wish I remembered the name of it. I think it's Harmonious Archon, but it says non-Archon creatures are 3/3s, I believe. Got magic pulled up right here. Yes, it is Harmonious Archon. Non-Archon creatures have base power and toughness 3/3. So I would get scared if I don't mention that. Archons aren't that good. There's going to be 3 now: the Harmonious, the Archon of Absolution, and Archon of Falling Stars. So, not, in my opinion, worth mentioning for real. The ideas I had was being able to, of course, return Omen of the Sea, Captive Audience, go with a Starfield Mystic, trying to sacrifice omens or whatever enchantments you can, putting them into your graveyard, but also being able to cheat the cost on your initial enchantment investment. And then, of course, constellations. Always mentioning constellations. But anyways, the next card is Erebos' Intervention. It's X cost and a black instant rare. Choose 1. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, and you gain X life. And then the other one says exile up to twice X target cards from graveyards. I bring a death and none can escape. So, the reason I think this card is pretty cool is A, it gains you X life. That's pretty good. That can be really, really good in Commander when black doesn't necessarily gain life, so that can be pretty good. Plus Cabal Coffers and Cabal Stronghold, making you get a lot of black mana up at the same time, would be pretty sweet. The other part of that, creature gets -X, that kills indestructible creatures, and that's where that's really good. The other thing is them still trying to make escape like this big enemy, up to twice X target cards from your graveyard. So if you pay 1 generic and a black, that'd be 2 cards. If you play 2, that would be 4 cards. So in Commander, this card looks sweet, but in Standard, not a big fan. Yeah, I was mentioning the whole thing about killing gods and then, yeah, escape. Beat myself to it. Sorry, PowerPoint. But anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think in the comments section below. I'd love to talk to y'all. But this has been Sneaky Narcotic. Signing off.